Whenever you're ready.
It was May 6, 1954, and Roger Bannister was the first person ever to run a mile under 4 minutes. He ran it in 3:59.4. That's really impressive. That means he would have to run each lap under a minute. And a mile seems so long. I'm sure many of you remember the dreaded mile in PE that we had to do. They always seem to pick the hottest days. But my running didn't start then. I've been running for as long as I can remember. The first picture of me running was when I was 6 years old. I was at the Iowa Games and running a 400 of all things. But I've always strived to improve and learn as much about running as I can. After reading several books, I hope to understand running more. So I view the whole idea of running as a giant timeline. The timeline begins and includes the history of running, followed by the different types of running, and ending with the future benefits it may bring. Humans have been running since the very beginning. Hunters would track down their prey for miles. But I looked into so much history of running that I decided to focus on the key points of it. According to myrunningtips.com, there are religious festivals that most likely began the competitive running. An example of this is the Talatinian Games, and they were held in honor of the dead and the goddess Talatiyu. Other religious festivals included fell running, which is off-road running or cross-country running. The first one was recorded in 1040 AD, so it's been around for a long time. The Olympic Games is widely known and watched today. That hasn't always been the case, though. Ancient Greeks centered their lives around the gods and therefore created the first Olympic Games in 776 BC. This is stated by run.isport.com. The games kind of fell out of practice, but were revived in 1896 when France lost in the France-Prussian War. A historian believed that the soldiers were out of shape, and he got a petition to start the games again. Women were not welcome in the running world until 1928. Then in 1996, women were introduced into the Boston Marathon by secret. This was because at the beginning of the Boston Marathon, there's a woman that hid and then jumped in at the start, and that's how they got introduced into the marathon. The International Association of Athletics Federation, or the IAAF, added the 3,000-meter run to the games in 1979. Women continued to increase their speeds, so in the 1990s, the 5,000 and 10,000-meter runs were added to the games and the championships. This brings us to where we are today, with the many different types of running. There are long-distance races, which include a marathon, which is 26.2 miles, which is pretty far, a half marathon, which is 13.1 miles. My brother actually ran a half marathon. He ran a dam to dam, and he said it was really hard, but he's going to do it again, so I don't know. Other races include a 30K, a 10K, and a 5K. And the 5K is what the cross-country runners run in high school. Mid-distance races can mix with long-distance or with the sprints. It depends on which level you're at. An example of this is the 3,000 or 3,200-meter run. Other mid-distance races include the 1,600 and the 1,500. There's also the 800 and the 400-meter dash can be considered a sprint. The sprints, or short distances in track, include the 200-meter dash and the 100-meter dash. Track events can also include mixing races to form a relay, and there are also hurdles for certain events. Different lengths of running may require different types of footwear. So for example, I brought this average sprinting spike. Some have different amounts of spikes, but the goal for this is to have this arch so you are more on your toes so you're running faster. And a distance spike, not all of them have spikes, but this one does. And as you see, this arch isn't as big and it's more flat-footed, so you get the heel-toe motion that you need for the long distances. And then I brought this cross-country spike, which I haven't worn yet, but you want it flexible and lightweight so you can run those long distances. And also, this one doesn't have spikes, but some do. And then you have the arch, that way you can get up those hills. And if you want, you can look at these afterward. They'll be here. So running may bring benefits and maybe some risk into the future, according to the book Galloway's 5K/10K Running. Running involves the cardiovascular system, as you may know, and the heart gets stronger and is less prone to heart disease. But it has been proven and is possible to overwork yourself, especially in the heat, and that may form a heart disease. Running also involves the respiratory system. The lungs become more efficient in processing oxygen and putting into your blood. The side effects, though, is that side aches are often symptoms of running, but that's usually when you're out of shape, like me. Many people run to burn fat and to gain muscle. Running or jogging are ways to get into shape, and is why many people do it. The downside is that injuries may occur. While exercising, endorphins are released. Endorphins are chemicals in the brain that makes you feel good, so running makes you feel good. Spring Clean Your Diet, Runner's World magazine, has shown that exercise may reduce symptoms of PTSD and depression. There was an experiment conducted including veterans that had PTSD or depression or both, and there was two groups. One group exercised, and the other one went to therapy. And the end result were then to recall their war experiences without feeling in danger. Those who exercised showed an increase of BDNF, or brain-derived neurotrophic factor. And this helped with the end result. They didn't feel as endangered. So, as running continues to become more popular to this day, hopefully we are now better able to understand it. The timeline, including the history, types, and benefits of running, may allow us to understand each other and our decisions more. Humans have been running since the beginning of time and will not stop until the end.